Bless me, Father, for I have sinned.
How long since your last confession, my son?
27 hours.
It's really too often. You're not that bad.
Hi, welcome to What the Flick. We are all here. Hail us. Matt is back. He's been gone for like all of 2016.
Exactly.
Really
Happy New Year, everybody.
It has been that long. Happy Groundhog Day, Happy New Year. Christy, Matt, Alonzo, Ben, we are all here because it's a new Coen Brothers film. It matters. Ben, tell us about Hail Caesar.
Yeah, so Hail Caesar, apparently it's set in 1951. You learn that because in Roman numerals it says that on one of the titles. I had to read that. I was not able to deduce that myself.
You're the reason why it can't be Super Bowl L.
That's right. What? Anyway, it's a story of every one of the big five studios in 1951, but the Coen brothers give it the name Capitol Studios, run by Josh Brolin playing Eddie Mannix, who was, as we'll discuss, a real-life fixer of the era at MGM. Didn't run a studio, but Eddie has all these duties here in the Coen Brothers film. He's not only the head of production, but he also keeps stars out of trouble, makes sure they don't sully their reputation and therefore the studio's reputation. And meanwhile, what we see are, like four movies?
Like five.
4 or 5 movies going on at the same time. All sort of loosely connected, I guess, through Eddie, but the principal story, as you've seen in the trailer, involves George Clooney, who's the hottest star in Hollywood. He's, I don't know, Gary Cooper or someone like that, right? And he is, early in the film, abducted by a group that who's
a mysterious cabal.
A mysterious cabal of Jews.
They do run Hollywood.
And Eddie, while dealing with a billion other issues, efforts to get Clooney back and avoid a scandal.
Here at Capitol Pictures, as you know, millions of people look to us for information and uplift and, yes, entertainment. And we're going to give it to them. And action. An army of technicians and actors and top-notch artistic people are working hard to bring to the screen our biggest release of the year. Hail Caesar is a prestige picture with one of the biggest stars in the world, Baird Whitlock.
A truth we could see if we had, but if we had faith. Cut.
Mr. Mannix.
What's up?
The director can't find Baird Whitlock.
Somebody slipped it under my door.
We have your movie star. Gather $100,000 and await instructions. Who are we? The future.
So won't you tell me no truths? I wanna hold your lines. Don't you tell me no truths? I wanna hold your lines.
This is a drama, Mannix, a real drama.
Mr. Mannix, I know it sounds screwy, but someone's calling from the future.
Good Lord.
So give me all of your lines. Give me all of your lines. Give me all of your lines. Give me all of your lines.
Wondering what's going on?
So I love all the little individual movies within this, so much more than the cohesive stuff in between. I think that's a little meandering and a little weak. I would love to see an entire movie of just Merrily We Dance.
Yes.
Of Ralph Fiennes directing Alden Ehrenreich, who is spectacular in this and just charming as hell. I like the Channing Tatum dance sequence is legitimately entertaining.
Right. Yes.
It's delightful.
And as is the Scarlett Johansson dance sequence.
And the Coens, there's such exuberance in how much the Coens love film. It's so clear. It's always been so clear, but really especially here where they are dipping into very specific genres. And then the stuff in between with Josh Brolin just kind of like brings momentum back down again.
You're right. I mean, I think this movie doesn't add up to much, but it's fun getting there to nothing. I had a great time, but it doesn't really, there's not a lot of substance here. But the style is so great that who gives a shit about the substance?
I disagree. I think that there's actually a fair amount of substance, and there's too much. I think it actually takes away from what would otherwise be this kind of celebratory farce of old Hollywood. And, there's little moments, when Ehrenreich's character, the cowboy, is...
Hobie Doyle.
Hobie Doyle is waiting for his date right?
And
it's
so
just, right, like there's that great little scene of like how he's
grabs
just
the
gonna,
lasso,
right,
yeah.
and just starts practicing and passing the time, and that's great. It's so much fun to watch. But there's this, Tim Grierson was writing in his review about how there's this level of kind of existential discussion about a guy in his career, and is he going to do the thing that he's passionate about or do something that's easier just to pass the time that pays better and is less stressful. And it's a similar kind of existential discussion that we've seen in the last couple of Coen brothers movies, like Inside Llewyn Davis and A Serious Man.
This is very similar to A Serious Man.
And I kind of feel like I don't really like I feel almost like the Coen brothers set out to make this really fun farce and couldn't help but add this discussion into their film as to what they're thinking about and what's on their mind.
Yeah, but the stakes for that character never feel all that pressing. I mean,
For
it's
Josh
like,
Brolin?
it's like, do I give up this sort of nutty studio job where I'm having to juggle all these crazy personalities so I can spend more time at home with Alison Pill, or not? And it doesn't have the urgency of like, am I going to be condemned to hell like in Serious Man?
Well, and that's the thing, and that bothered me. And it was like, well, then why, if we're just going to be that on the surface about it, then why, don't give me more of that. Like either lean into that or show me more insanity back at the studio.
I don't think it mattered, and I'm glad that it didn't have the serious weight of A Serious Man that made it infinitely more enjoyable to me. I think that it's definitely about something. I mean, to me, I just thought this was as I thought more about it the next day, and I thought almost all day about it the day after I saw it, proving to me that I really liked it. That this is a movie about faith in every way, about our faith in believing these stories that Hollywood tells us, about our faith in believing not just the stories in the movies, but the lies that the studio tells us about the stars. About Tilda Swinton is fantastic playing twin sister, playing essentially Hedda Hopper and Luella Parsons, but in this case they're twins.
Identical twins.
They're Dear Abby and Ann Landers.
That's right, they're Dear Abby. It's a mix.
Which makes for a great payoff when you find out about that, right? When Ehrenreich finds out he's talking to the wrong one.
That's right.
It's a great moment.
Right, it's a great moment, but of course it means, and also both of their faith that Josh Brolin isn't lying to them when he's handing them chum so that they don't see the submarine crash 10 feet away. So and then of course literal faith, because the movie they're making is Hail Caesar, a story of the Christ, which is funny all by itself. And one of as good a Coen Brothers scene as I'd put it as a top 10 Coen Brothers scene, without having made a list, but I'm certain I'd put it there when he brings in the Eastern Orthodox guy and the rabbi and the Protestant minister and the Catholic priest to discuss whether this story, Hail Caesar, A Tale of the Christ, whether the depiction of Christ is going to offend regular members of it. And those guys talk for, I don't know,
that's Robert Picardo, I believe.
It is,
rabbi,
yeah.
And he's
so
good.
And Alan Havey is the
That's right.
But Picardo steals that scene.
He does steal that scene.
Like, I want to see a movie about that guy and just the hassles he's got to go
Hollywood
through.
rabbi.
Yeah. So,
I love.
And real quick, I'm sorry. And then Eddie's determination himself, because as you mentioned, whether he goes, he's got a job offer, right? He's sort of balancing that. Sort of his faith in this business as to whether that's an appropriate way for a grown man to make a living in this nonsensical world.
But also his actual religious faith. I mean, that
and
bookends
his religious.
the film.
Oh,
sure,
he goes to
yeah.
confession
He goes
daily.
daily to confess about
Everything he's
small
just
minor.
done.
When we see him engage in much more serious transgressions, not stuff, typical stuff. He's not cheating on his wife, but like he's worried about lovelily. I think about like he's begging for forgiveness because he smoked 2 cigarettes behind his wife's back.
Maybe 3, right?
Maybe 3.
Right. And that first shot in the movie is so Roger Deakins shot this, and it's so gorgeous and such a great example of his use of darkness and shadow and negative space, because it's Josh Brolin in the confessional, and the light is streaking through in the pattern of the slats of the confessional, and so from the very beginning, it's just gorgeous.
And yet the priest sounds so hassled. Right?
Totally. Why are you
No, because he's got to see this guy every day who's got nothing to confess about.
When's your last confession? Oh, about 4 o'clock yesterday. Okay.
Yeah, what'd you do? Run another stop sign?
One of the things that has happened lately with the explosion of CG and kind of post-production sweetening is that you can recreate kind of any color palette you want. And I'm amazed that there have been so few filmmakers up until this movie that have really gone out of their way to recreate like early garish Technicolor. But like that scene where they're shooting the society comedy, the red-haired woman in the green dress, just like these hues you have not seen in ages. There's a shot of Channing Tatum late in the film at night, where it's like something out of a Nicholas Ray movie. It's like you have not seen a flesh tone like that in a movie in decades.
He's been tanning.
And they just nail it so well, and they have such fun with bringing that stuff back to life. I mean, you could digitally composite Esther Williams on top of Scarlett Johansson, and that scene would completely play as something from like $1 Million Mermaid.
That scene is gorgeous, and you can just tell how much fun they had directing it, like the camera angles and the choreography. It popped off the screen so beautifully. Yeah.
I don't know, and they did a nice job. You know, they tackle the blacklist, but they don't really tackle it. They tackle it the way you tackle it at a tackling dummy. You know, they glance off the blacklist because there's some communists in the movie, but they're so stupid. They're so dumb. And because it's also talk about faith, their faith in this nonsensical economic ideology in the manner that it's presented to them. You know, and Clooney, who's played so many dimwits in Coen Brothers movies, I think I think he's been strong in all of them. Well, maybe not in Intolerable.
And he's clearly having such a good time.
Yeah, exactly. But he's good here because he buys it, because he will literally buy anything that someone
tells him to say.
He's like, okay, all right.
He wants to be liked. He's a movie star.
He's a movie star. And also, but from if you know, as I guess we all do, but you know, whether it's Tilda as Hedda Hopper and Luella Parsons, or Scarlett Johansson is Esther Williams, that one is unmistakable. Alden Ehrenreich, that's his name. Like that's Roy Rogers, you know, right? I mean, they then take them on places that these characters don't go, because Roy Rogers, as far as I can remember, nobody tried to turn him into James Dean, which is it's essentially
into Cary Grant.
Well, to make it into Cary Grant, but to make him a serious, brooding actor.
Yeah.
Well, and Ray Fiennes' direction. That's a great scene. And Fiennes is playing Lawrence Lorenz.
Or
depending on which way.
Lawrence Lorenz presents.
But that's Olivier, you know, and then Scarlett Johansson.
Or any number of Brits behind the camera.
But I think when it's Lawrence, they want. I mean, again, these are just. I mean, they're only 1% of these people. Then but like, and Scarlett Johansson has she has some Gene Hagen from Singing in the Rain. And also, you know, Loretta Young had to, because she was a serious Catholic, had to adopt her own kid. They do all kinds of fun.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The great Jonah Hill bit with that.
Totally,
where he shows up and he's the notary and he's the guy that they use that meets the minimum qualifications of personhood.
So anytime if a star shot somebody in the head, Jonah Hill would be like, no, I did it. I shot him in the head.
And great Christopher Lambert cameo.
Yeah, and Frances McDormand.
And Frances McDormand was a great scene.
Well, what you were saying though about how this kind of weaves together this sort of alternate Hollywood history, and I also felt like just the setting was this sort of movie studio of our imagination, because they shot this thing on every studio lot that's still standing in Hollywood.
A lot of it's Warner Brothers.
But there's Universal is in there and Disney is in there.
There's an aerial shot of the studio, and that's
the Culver lot, right?
No, it's a made up lot. Like that's a bigger lot than anyone ever had, and it was like.
But it has a water tower in the middle.
Right.
Yeah, so it is the collective sort of studio lot of every movie we ever saw that had like elephants and Romans and showgirls walking down the main drag.
But given how great,
and you mentioned Tatum, who's by the way Gene Kelly too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But given how great like Scarlett Johansson is, Jonah Hill is, Channing Tatum is, like it's Frances McDormand in the one scene. It's so tantalizing and a little frustrating to get so little of them at the expense of this thing in between them that isn't nearly as engaging. I don't know.
I thought the thing in between them was engaging enough.
Yeah.
I you know, again, not perfectly engaging, but I would say engaging enough.
And then it just kind of ends. It just kind of ends.
It's a day in the life.
It's a day in the life.
Right, but I think it just ends. Like I don't know that it comes to anything, and maybe that's life in general, right? And there's no answer. But,
I think that between the two things, there's the decision that gets made by Brolin's character, and then there's that last scene with Brolin and Clooney, right? Which I think is which is the payoff.
Yeah.
And I think that there's
do you feel satisfied by it? Okay.
Yeah, I do.
And lingering above the whole thing is the notion that this is all coming to an end. You know, television is coming. The studios are going to have to sell off the theaters they own.
Right.
Stars are going to form production companies, and this whole thing is going to collapse. So there is kind of almost a last days of the Roman Empire feel to it, like the studio system is on its
That's right.
literal
Last Days of the
last
Roman
legs.
Empire, and there's a movie about
the last days of the Roman Empire. Yeah. But yeah, again, I got to say, Alden Ehrenreich is a movie star.
Yeah, and he was in what? He was in Tetro.
Beautiful Creatures.
Yeah, and so I mean, his name has sort of been out there, but this should hopefully make him.
Oh, and in that movie you like, Stoker too.
That movie I like.
Yes.
That nobody else liked. Me.
You wore that damn necklace for years.
I like my key. It's really cute. I still do. So so he is just charming as hell and just totally earnest, and he sells it. But there's clearly more substance there, and he's.
I'm
going
to see it again. I
Are
really
you?
like
I
it.
would see it again.
I have a sense that this might be a Coen film that like I don't love when I first see it, but it will resonate the more I think about it.
Think of
Lebowski's like that.
I mean, A Serious Man is like that. I think Llewyn Davis is like that. Like, I didn't love Llewyn Davis, and I saw it again. I'm like, oh my God, this is.
Well, maybe I should see A Serious Man and Llewyn Davis again.
Oh,
Yeah.
Serious Man is great.
I love A Serious Man.
But think of Brolin as kind
Made
of
me
the
a little anti-Semitic.
the MC that weaves together these sort of disparate comic sketches or something.
This would be a good companion piece, though, with A Serious Man, because like Michael Stuhlbarg in that, Josh Brolin is just trying to do the right thing. Everyone around him is corrupt and selfish, and he just wants to do the
Somebody
right
said
thing.
that this was I can't remember who said it, this is a good companion piece with Trumbo.
Oh.
I was thinking that with the
Yeah,
communists.
totally. Yeah. Also, they got the communist Jewish cabal of trying to whatever involved in the abduction, but also like then against that backdrop, just a little throwaway like okay, as bad as it was to. The mark of being a communist could and did destroy many careers, and that's not to be taken lightly. Worse, always to be labeled gay. Like that was.
Oh well, yeah.
That was the end of that.
Even that subplot has a real life corollary.
That's right. Of course it does. Yeah.
And that house in Malibu could be Jackie Treehorn's neighbor
Yeah.
in Big Lebowski. So, all right, so what are our numbers then, friends? Ben, what's your number?
8.6.
Alonzo?
8.5.
I feel like you guys talked me up in this one a little bit. I'm going to move it up to a 7.5.
Okay. Fine. I will do 7.2. All right. So somebody else, please do math for me, because I can't.
Come on, Kitty.
It's a 7.9.
Yeah, nice job. Less than 7 seconds.
Human
everybody.
calculator.
Yeah.
Alonzo
Almost
Durrell.
But then if I'm wrong, you're going to hear about it in the comments.
You're
Yeah.
definitely
gays
wrong.
are good
Still,
at
it's
that.
good.
Yeah, Matt and I did our numbers early, but you're right. Yeah, I like this better than I think I did. So 7.9 is now our magical number. And where is it?
Last I checked, it was in the high 70s, low 80s on the tomato meter, but a lot of reviews are coming in, so it'll probably stay around there.
So split because some critics really liked it and some didn't connect with it.